Working in New Zealand. I work full-time in New Zealand, and it's very different than working in the States. I love it here because here it's very common to start at 9 and to be done at 4:35. That would never happen in the States. They are also very conscious of, they want you to take your vacation days. That's odd. That's, you get vacation days in the States, but you really shouldn't use it. And they're very concerned about health and safety. Like, I sit at a desk all day, but they're concerned that I have a standing desk, that I have the right equipment that works well. They encourage me to take walks and breaks and take the free, I have free workout classes during the day, and they encourage me to do that. It's crazy. You start at 9, people are having morning tea at 10. Like, really? We're taking a break already? It's great. I love it. I've embraced it. Working in New Zealand works for a mama of 4, for sure. Love it here. Thanks, guys. Hello, we're coming live to you from New Zealand. We're going to show you how their parks are different here than the US. Some pretty cool things. And Jude will demonstrate. Say hi, Jude.
Hi.
Things I love about living in New Zealand. Number 1, the stress-free lifestyle. If you're late for school, you get detention. If you're late for work, you could get fired. Here, it's no worries. It's okay. They're very reasonable. They're very understanding. It's amazing. Number 2, the safety issues. My kids can walk to school, can take public transportation. That would not happen where I'm from. Now, maybe some places in the States, but not where I'm from. The safety is amazing, and you just feel comfortable and safe. It's so great. Number 3, the beauty of this country is stunning. In 20 minutes out of Wellington, I can be in these beautiful mountain ranges, or I can be by the sea, or a couple steps from my house, I can be in the bush, which is like walking into Jurassic Park and this most amazing thing. I can put my feet in the rivers and I can see my feet at the bottom because it's so clean and so clear and so beautiful and everything's so close together. It's so amazing. I hope Jude and I are coming live to you again. We are a family of 6 that have moved to New Zealand, and we are about to walk through the grocery store. We're going to show you some cool, some unique, different foods. Eggs are not refrigerated. They're not refrigerated. Eggs are not refrigerated. Eggs are not refrigerated. Not refrigerated. Eggs are not refrigerated. Let's talk tea. First of all, there's morning tea, which is really when people drink coffee and have a snack. And then there's afternoon tea, where they have a snack and I think actually tea. And then there's what's for tea, which is dinner or supper. What is the obsession with tea? So when someone in New Zealand asks you what's for pudding, they mean what's for dessert. According to Wikipedia, that means the cheaper desserts that they would give their servants, like a rice pudding, apparently. That's where it came from Britain. And yeah, so when you're here and someone asks you what's for pudding, and I don't know, does it just mean only cheap desserts? So like you're not getting creme brulee, you're not getting tiramisu. What do you guys eat for pudding? Okay, let's talk about the different school schedules in New Zealand compared to the US. Now they are different. So in New Zealand, it would be considered like a year-round school comparatively. So in New Zealand, you have 4 terms split up by 2-week holidays in between, and then you get a big 6-week holiday over summer. Whereas in the US, you have The big summer break is 3 months compared to the 6 weeks, and then you don't really have as much time off during the year. So you have a couple days over Thanksgiving, 2 weeks over Christmas and New Year's, and then you get 1 week spring break in the spring, and that's it, other than public holidays. And so it's not great, because really the 3 month in the summer, because I've lived both, is too long. Like by the time you hit that 6 week mark, everybody's kind of ready for something different, a little more of a schedule, and it's difficult for working families, and it's frustrating to not have other times throughout the year that you can travel and do things. There are so many things that New Zealand has figured out and just got it right. Today I'm going to talk on 3 things that I think that New Zealand really got right. The first thing that New Zealand has gotten right is its money. Not only is it waterproof, since you live on an island and you're surrounded by water, but it's also all different colors, so you can easily distinguish a 5, a 10, a 20 when you're grabbing it out of your wallet or your purse. Okay, number 2, the second thing that New Zealand has got right is coffee. Their coffee is unbelievable. Compared to the US, it doesn't even compare. You cannot get good coffee. It's always a struggle when I head back home to the US. You guys have really figured out coffee. And number 3, the third thing that New Zealand has figured out is how to preserve its nature. You do not go to beaches in New Zealand that look like this, that are filled with condos, restaurants, pubs, and people. 3 things that Americans should know before they come to New Zealand. Number 1, if someone says to you, I'm going to shout you a coffee, that does not mean that they're going to yell at you. That means that they're going to buy you a coffee. And number 2, the best things in New Zealand are at the end of a gravel road. So if you are traveling around New Zealand and you're going down these windy roads and then you hit a gravel road, you are in the right place. You are about to see something amazing. That's where all the best stuff in New Zealand is, at the end of a gravel road. And number 3, when you go to a cafe in New Zealand, you're going to see this display cabinet of food. It's okay to order from there. They will heat it up. They will give you some sauce. They will maybe sometimes put a salad in there. It's okay. You can order the food from the display. 3 things that I love about New Zealand, part 2. Number 1, you don't have guns here. I don't even think your police carry guns. That's amazing. Now, every state in the U.S. has different laws, but in the state where I'm from, Wisconsin, you can conceal and carry a gun. So just imagine what it would be like for you to walk into a dairy and someone could have a gun. It's a whole different world. And number 2, there is very little paperwork in New Zealand compared to the U.S. It is so great. In the U.S., no matter what you do, you buy a car, you buy a house, you do anything, and you're filling out hundreds of pages of paper. You literally are signing your life away, giving your blood just to sign your child up for school. It's crazy. It's so great how there's very little paperwork in New Zealand. And number 3, your banking system. The fact that I can give somebody my bank account or they can just put something directly into my account is amazing. In the States, we're still writing checks. Everything is difficult. Okay, 4 things that I think America needs to adopt from New Zealand. Number 1, the toy library. What a great idea. You can come in and check out age-appropriate toys, just like you would in a regular library where you check out books, and then you bring them back, and then you can get new age-appropriate toys. So parents don't need to keep buying new toys as their child grows. Amazing. They do not have this in the States. Number 2, all coffees in New Zealand have 2 shots of espresso. Yes, 2. In America, they all have 1, and you have to pay 50 cents more for an extra shot. Number 3, meat pies. Ooh, does that look good? They do not have these in the States, and the States needs to adopt meat pies. They're amazing. And last, and certainly not least, the U.S. needs to adopt some decent politicians like Jacinda. You guys see what's going on over there? It's embarrassing. Okay, great question. Did I experience culture shock when I moved from the US to New Zealand? Now, I was prepared for this. I had talked to a lot of people that have traveled or actually teach people how to manage in other cultures, and I was prepared for the curve, right? But I'd have to say, I did not have any culture shock. It was more of a relief when you came into New Zealand. Everything was easier. Everybody was nicer. Your processes make sense. You don't bog us down with so much paperwork. If you think you have a lot of paperwork here, it's nothing compared to the US. And just everything is easier and people aren't out to get you everywhere. And in general, it was like when I talk to friends and family, they say, boy, your voice sounds really relaxed. You seem really relaxed there. Yeah, because it's a lot nicer, it's a lot calmer, it's a lot safer. Overall, life in New Zealand, so much better. Dinner etiquette in New Zealand compared to the US. I want to talk about 3 differences. The first difference is that when you are inviting somebody over to your house in New Zealand, they will generally bring something over. Even if you tell them not to, they will. They are a little uncomfortable not bringing something as a dinner guest. In the US, if the host says, do not bring anything, you don't need to bring it. Number 2, in the US, you're not really expected to stay too long. You're invited for dinner, then you gotta go. But in New Zealand, they do. They expect you to stay and to talk and they actually want to get to know you and want to hang out with you. In New Zealand, in the US, not so much. And number 3, in New Zealand, you will rarely see people serving you as a dinner guest on paper plates. Whereas in the US, it's much more common to use paper plates kind of all the time because, we like to throw things away. Not like you wouldn't have paper plates in New Zealand with big, large gatherings, but in general, you are not serving on paper plates in New Zealand.